Hello, my name's Sarah Bird and I'm here representing Martin, Ilana and myself and our paper, Why We Still Can't Browse in Peace, on the uniqueness and re-identifiability of web browsing histories. Our paper is a replication and extension of a 2012 paper whose core concept was that browsing history, the set of domains you have visited, is highly unique and had the potential to be used as a tracking vector. There were numerous differences between our data collection and the original papers, but the data we gathered enabled us to answer the original paper's questions and to extend the analysis to look at re-identifiability directly. In brief, in the summer of 2019, we ran an experiment with around 52,000 Firefox users who'd opted into additional data collection. We collected data on all network requests over a 2-week activity period with a gap of 1 week in the middle. That resulted in a dataset of 35 million site visits to around 660,000 distinct domains. Before presenting the results, there were a few definitions that should help. First, we consider 3 types of profile. All observed domains is the complete list of domains the user visited. The Trexer domains is a top site list defined independently of the user data. This most closely represents the methods used in the original paper. And lastly, categories. Again, this was a feature of the original paper. We can take our predefined site list and reduce it to interest categories and profile users based on this. A profile is most easily thought of as the list of distinct domains that a user has visited. That list may be refined by the types mentioned or may be truncated to include only the top K items. When we talk about profile size, we mean how many, say, different domains did a user visit in total. We start with our replication. In short, we replicated the core findings of the original paper. We found, like the original work, that a large proportion of profiles are unique, and this holds even when only a small number of domains are observed. Take the blue line, which is made up of all observed domains. When looking at just the top 100 domains, over 95% of user profiles are unique. That is, no other user had visited the same set of domains. This high uniqueness is very similar to the findings of the original paper. The original paper also looked at the stability of profiles, how similar were profiles of returning users. Its results indicated that browsing history could be used as a tracking vector. In our extension, we wanted to move beyond stability and measure re-identification directly. Because browsing history is a behavioral trait, it's about the user, and if behavioral traits can be used to uniquely identify people, this has important consequences for online privacy. We used the Jacquard distance, which captures, in our case, the amount of overlap there is between 2 lists of domains. Our data, as a reminder, consisted of a 1 week of data collection, followed by a gap, followed by week 2 of data collection. And our re-identifiability rate is the percent of users we correctly matched from week 1 to week 2, based simply on the Jacquard distance. Let's start by looking at our baseline re-identifiability rate, which we computed for users that had a profile size of over 50 domains. When we look at the top 10,000 possible domains in our analysis, we see a re-identification rate of around 50%, and this held whether we used the raw data of all domains or the predefined list. But this number drops to around 6% when looking at just 100 domains, and this is in contrast to the findings of the number of unique profiles. If you recall, we saw over 95% of profiles were unique at 100 domains, but this high uniqueness does not directly translate into re-identifiability. We need more information to be able to separate users apart. Among other things, we also looked at how profile size affects re-identifiability. Controlling for the number of users, we split them into 7 groups with different profile sizes. For users who visited around 50 domains, the re-identifiability was consistent with our baseline finding at around 50%. But for those users who had a profile size of over 150, that is, they'd visited more than 150 domains, the re-identifiability rate rose to over 80%. We also did this analysis for the Trexer list and the category list. Re-identifiability was similarly high for the predefined Trexer list. It was also similar for categories, but low overall because we only had 280 categories to work with. Finally, we look at third parties. In the context of third-party tracking, all the previous analysis could be questioned by asking, could this really happen? We can't directly measure third parties using browsing history as a tracking vector, although there is some anecdotal evidence that companies do this. What we can do is, given that we measured all the network requests, we can redo the analysis we presented with just the subset of domains that were observed visible to specific third parties. So we did this for the top third parties that over 5,000 users were exposed to. Note this is a theoretical re-identifiability rate based on observed prevalence of the third party. What we found was that a large number of third parties had sufficient presence, measured presence, for very meaningful re-identification rates, and Alphabet and Facebook had close to the maximum re-identifiability rate we saw. Thank you to all our collaborators, including Łukasz Olejnik, for communicating with us about the original manuscript, and thank you to all of you for attending. We look forward to answering your questions.